Imagine walking into a room, and suddenly you're certain you've already lived this exact moment. The same voices murmuring, the same light filtering in. Man, even this exact sentence feels familiar. You know for a fact you've never been here before, yet every fiber of your being insists you have. So, did your brain predict the future, or did it just make a massive mistake?
Welcome to this explainer. We've all felt that split second of sheer panic and awe, right? That visceral confusion where you're just left wondering, did my brain just break? Your brain is normally this incredible, highly tuned prediction machine, but right here, in this specific instance, it completely misfires. To understand why, we've got to treat this like a real scientific mystery and follow the clues deep into your neural circuitry.
We really have to ask ourselves, what exactly is this phenomenon? Is it an actual hidden memory bubbling up to the surface? Is it a glitch, kind of like a skipped frame in a video game? Or is it a hidden superpower, like a flash of precognition? People have debated this for literally over a century, blaming everything from past lives to suppressed desires. But modern neuroscience gives us a much, much cooler answer.
Actually, before we get to that answer, let me drop a massive cliffhanger for you. Can scientists create this feeling on purpose? What if I told you researchers could essentially flip a tiny switch in your brain and force you to experience this exact sensation on demand? Just keep that in the back of your mind as we dive into the mechanics of what's really happening inside your head.
Section 1. Defining the glitch.
Okay, let's dive into this. Scientists actually have very specific terms for when your reality processing system breaks down. You've definitely heard the main one, coined back in 1876, déjà vu, which is French for already seen. But there are nuances here. There's déjà vécu, meaning already experienced. That's that heavy, overwhelming feeling of having lived a whole scenario before. And then there's its terrifying opposite, jamais vu, meaning never seen. That's when something you know incredibly well, like a word you've written 1,000 times, suddenly feels completely alien.
Now, if you think you're alone in experiencing this glitch, you're definitely not. Up to 70% of people experience déjà vu. That's a massive number. Research shows it's actually most common in healthy folks between the ages of 15 and 25, and it kind of just tapers off as we get older. It's also linked to people who travel a lot, have higher education levels, and easily remember their dreams. So if 70% of us are glitching out, where exactly in the brain is this error happening?
Section 2. The memory airport.
To figure that out, we have to look at a specific network called the medial temporal lobe. But honestly, let's skip the dense anatomical jargon. Just think of your memory system as a super fast, highly secure airport. When information comes in from your senses, it has to pass through two distinct gates. Gate A is the rhinal cortex. Think of this as the gatekeeper for familiarity. It just tells you if you know something. Gate B is the hippocampus, the memory archive. This holds the actual details, the who, what, and where. Normally, these two work perfectly in sync. But what happens if Gate A opens before Gate B? You get a powerful surge of familiarity with absolutely zero actual memory attached to it. Boom. Déjà vu. Section 3. The dual processing delay. So why on earth would Gate A open before Gate B? Well, this brings us to a huge scientific explanation going back to 1963 with Robert Efrin's research. Think of it like two glowing signals racing to a finish line inside your brain. The primary signal goes straight there, arriving at 0 milliseconds. But the second signal? It takes a tiny detour through the other hemisphere and arrives, say, just 5 milliseconds late. Because of that minuscule delay, your brain gets completely confused. It processes the exact same information twice and mistakenly stamps that late arriving signal as a past memory, instead of part of the present moment. Your brain literally mislabels the timestamp of reality.
Section 4. The Hologram Theory.
But hey, maybe the delay isn't the whole story. A Dutch psychiatrist named Herman Snow proposed this wild alternative. What if your memories are stored kind of like a hologram? The cool thing about a hologram is you can recreate an entire 3D image from just one tiny fragment. So imagine you walk into a totally new room. Maybe you're a bit distracted. Step 1. Your subconscious casually spots an old chair in the corner that happens to look exactly like one from your childhood. Step 2. That single fragment triggers a ghost blueprint of your past. Step 3. Your brain, desperately wanting to recognize its surroundings, aggressively fills in the blanks, projecting a false sense of total familiarity over the whole room. But none of these theories explain the absolute strangest part of this phenomenon. Remember that massive cliffhanger I gave you earlier? Scientists can actually create déjà vu on demand.
Section 5. Triggering it on demand.
When researchers study epilepsy, they often use direct electrical brain stimulation to map out the brain. What they found is just astonishing. When they apply a super mild electrical current strictly to the rhinal cortex, remember, that's gate A, our familiarity gate, they can artificially induce déjà vu. By physically shocking this exact node, they completely bypass the hippocampus. They perfectly isolate that weird feeling of familiarity from the actual episodic memory archive.
And that brings us to this incredibly powerful quote explaining the decoupled familiarity hypothesis. It states that when scientists stimulate that rhinal cortex, the subjective feelings associated with memory retrieval become dissociated from the actual memory retrieval. To put that in plain English, the emotional feeling of knowing something fires off completely on its own. Your brain creates the vivid sensation of a memory without a memory actually existing. It's a pure chemical illusion.
Section 6. Remembering the present.
So we've looked at the gates, the delays, and how an electrical spark can literally generate familiarity. So what is the ultimate truth here? Well, your brain isn't remembering the past. It's accidentally remembering the present. Déjà vu is simply a metacognitive error. It's a filing mistake. Because of a tiny delay or a random visual trigger or an electrical misfire, your brain skips the live processing folder and saves your current reality directly into the past memories folder. You feel like you've been here before because from your brain's perspective, you literally are remembering the present moment as it happens. Honestly, this shouldn't even surprise us because our brains are constantly altering our perception of reality just to keep the story flowing. The brain absolutely hates a broken narrative. In vision science, if there's a gap in what you see, like your eye's natural blind spots, your primary visual cortex, or V1, will literally print phantom pixels of light and color to sketch a bridge right across that gap. It actively guesses and fills in the missing pieces using multi-sensory integration. So just like it paints false pixels over your blind spot, it paints false familiarity over your present moment to make sense of a processing glitch.
So the next time you stop dead in your tracks, absolutely certain you've lived this exact moment before, don't worry. You aren't psychic and you definitely aren't breaking the space-time continuum. Today, your brain confused the present with the past. Last week, it erased your blind spot. Next week, we'll uncover why your brain creates monsters in the dark. Reality isn't recorded, it's blind sketch. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.